These are tonight's top stories. OECS heads press for deeper levels of integration, particularly in the area of safety and security. Prominent judge Justice Adrian Saunders to deliver good governance and accountability lecture. And ZIZ Radio celebrates its 56th anniversary. The details to these and more coming up right after the break.
Can you afford to lose everything? In times of uncertainty, ensure you have the security of Quartz Payment Protection. When you shop with Quartz Ready Finance Gold or Ultimate Plan, if you lose your job after 6 months of making payments, our redundancy coverage ensures that the payment on your account continues for up to 12 months. Don't risk losing everything. Shop with Quartz Ready Finance and get the payment protection plan that protects you against redundancy, disability, death, and loss of item due to natural disaster, fire, flood, or theft. Quartz Ready Finance with payment protection. Quartz, bringing value home.
Good evening, welcome to the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast with your presenter, Via Galloway. OECS leaders are aware that with full regional integration, the need for closer regional collaboration in a number of areas including healthcare, security and agriculture will become even more important. The leaders expressed their views while present at the 64th meeting of the OECS Authority on Friday. Here is more in this story.
In the area of heightened security present throughout the OECS, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Honorable Alan Chastanet, believes it is time for a common police force or a regional forensic laboratory to be established.
The fact is that when you look at the cost of the judicial system and the cost of the police force as a relationship to our overall budgets, it's very, very high. We already see functional cooperation in our courthouses, so our Court of Appeal is on a regional basis already. Long ago, it existed. We actually had the senior officers were on a rotation basis. So the question is, if we have now a common passport, we have common ID cards, why can't we now have a common database and have a police force that's a regional police force? So we can have one singular commissioner, and then we can have corporals and superintendents on a regional basis and rotate people.
The St. Lucian leader said he believes this approach would bring some measure or relief to government's overall debt and also help in eliminating corruption in police services.
One of the things that's hurting the governments right now is one, clearly debt, but the other one is the high cost of governance. And most of us are struggling to pay for what we have, and we know it's still not world class. So this is where the OECS, as a group, has to start paying greater dividends. And there has to be, I think, a more integrated approach. One of the issues with police forces continues to be the concern about corruption. And we've all known, and it's been suggested for a long time, by putting people on rotation, it helps eliminate that familiarity.
Premier of Nevis and Senior Minister in the St. Kitts Nevis Cabinet, the Honorable Vance Amory, supported the call for closer collaboration in the interest of safety and security and noted that it is clear that the member states are faced with regional threats to security that demand a regional response.
What Prime Minister Chastanet has indicated is something which no doubt would be discussed in greater detail, but barring that, even if there is not the single OECS police force, there has to be and there continues to be the cooperation and collaboration between the security forces to give that protection, regional protection against the criminal element which is a threat to our security.
Prime Minister Harris also chimed in on the matter of security at the regional level. He said while it may take a while to establish a single OECS unit, it would be fitting to see a greater degree of functional cooperation and planning.
We recruit a large number of non-nationals, if you will, into our police force each year because we have not been able to get some of our own people to respond. And this may be healthy from the perspective of the lack of the familiarity which sometimes inhibits good policing unless one's minds and one's attitudes are well honed and sharpened into think strategically. As a cop, we believe that there's room for collaboration and cooperation in forensics. Forensics are critical now in the investigative work of police.
The OECS Authority Chairman said there will be a follow-up meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in April, where heads of governments are expected to continue their discussions on several matters, including security and civil aviation. The 64th meeting of the OECS Authority was held at the St. Kitts Marriott Resort under the chairmanship of St. Kitts and Nevis' Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. Reporting for ZIZ News, I am Shaira Flanders.
Continuing in the spirit of its second anniversary in office, it has added a lecture on good governance and accountability to be delivered by the Honorable Justice Adrian Saunders this week. Justice Saunders was called to the Bar of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 1977. He remained in private practice as a barrister and a solicitor until 1996, when he was appointed as a judge of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. In 2003, he was confirmed as a Justice of Appeal of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. He was appointed to act as Chief Justice of that court in 2004 and held that position until his appointment as a Judge of the Caribbean Court of Justice in 2005. Justice Saunders was elected Chairman of the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers in 2009. The lecture, which will be held under the patronage of His Excellency the Governor General, Sir S. W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG, CBO, QCJP. Members of the public, members of cabinet, members of the St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association, members of the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, members of the St. Kitts Christian Council and the St. Kitts Evangelical Association, heads of government departments, the leader of the opposition, parliamentary opposition, the Nevis Island administration, the High Court judge, consular and diplomatic corps, local ambassadors and students are expected to attend. Good governance and accountability lecture will be held at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank March 9, starting at 7 in the evening. And coming up after the break, Cabinet highlights International Women's Day and the ZIZ celebrates its 56th anniversary. Stay tuned, we'll be back. Welcome back to the news. A formal meeting of Cabinet chaired by Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris took place on Monday. In a recent post-Cabinet briefing, Director General of the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, Leslie Williams, outlined discussions held to address the upcoming month-long celebrations to commemorate International Women's Day.
Cabinet approved the month-long celebration for International Women's Day, extending beyond the observance of the day, which is this year, March 8. The United Nations theme for this year's observance is Women in the Changing World of Work, Planet 50/50 by 2030. International Women's Day celebrates the social, economic, cultural, and political achievement of women. Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, women are honored in several areas, including health.
International Women's Day is recognized annually on March 8. Minister of State with responsibility for gender affairs, the Honorable Wendy Phipps, will spearhead the 45-day celebration. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Gender Affairs is gearing up for International Women's Day celebrations next week. And as part of the activities to commemorate the day, the department will be hosting its annual International Women's Day Awards banquet Wednesday, March 8. ZIZ sat down with Senior Gender Officer with responsibility for the Women Empowerment Platform, Chanel Charles, who gave an overview of the awards ceremony.
International Day Awards is quite exciting for me because this is where the women in the community, they would be able to, they would be recognized for everything that they have done throughout the years.
She explained the importance to recognize women at the ceremony.
It's of paramount importance that we recognize these women who were not recognized before, who were in the background, people that you would never thought, or women that you never thought, did construction, or women, for example, doctors. We don't have much women doctors per se, but we want to see who they are, right? And at least we can say, okay, we gave them a chance to showcase, what they have done before. And I like to see, women progress. I like to see that women stand out.
She also used the opportunity to thank all the sponsors who helped to make the award ceremony possible for yet another year.
I would like to say, we thank our sponsors. Like, it's many of them, so I would like to say a big hearty thank you for them, because without them, this could not have been possible. Big hearty thank you. It's too numerous to mention, but at another event, we would mention everybody to make recognition specifically to all those sponsors and all those groups.
Charles noted that the women will be awarded based on a number of categories, including public service, counseling, transportation, construction, volunteerism, and many other fields. The International Women's Day Awards banquet will be held at Government House from 9 in the morning until noon. And coming up, former Haitian President Preval dies at the age of 74. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. René Preval, the only Haitian president to serve 2 full terms without being jailed, exiled, or killed, has died at the age of 74. He led the nation through the devastating 2010 earthquake. President Jovenel Moïse described Preval as a dignified son of Haiti. We hear more in this report.
René Preval was above all a proud Haitian who achieved what no one before him ever had. He was the first president in his country's turbulent history to win a democratic election, serve 2 full terms, and actually hand over power to a successor peacefully. During his first term from 1996 to 2001, the left-wing agronomist promoted land reform, built roads and other public works. But perhaps most notably, he was never accused of human rights violations, abuse of power, or stealing, as were all his predecessors and most of his successors. Yet, as fate would have it, his second term was defined by the devastating earthquake that struck Haiti in 2010. With a death toll of up to 200,000 people, it destroyed much of what was already the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere.
Some pain can't be described in words. The only answer for all that pain has been to look for some help until now. Above all, outside. The pain is so heavy. Today, we, the Haitian people, have to mourn our dead with dignity.
Preval's weak, some even claimed absent leadership during the disaster was harshly criticized, eroding his prestige. Yet he will more likely be remembered as a Haitian who remained true to his principles in the interests of his people. René Preval died at his home in the Haitian capital at the age of 74. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera.
Coming up, thousands refused to leave Thai temple during tense standoff. We'll have the details when we come back. Moving now to news internationally, a tense standoff continues at a Buddhist temple outside the capital of Bangkok. Police and soldiers surrounded the complex, demanding the former abbot turn himself in to face corruption charges. It's the biggest display of resistance since the military coup almost 3 years ago. Al Jazeera's Wayne Hay reports from Thailand.
Because of its sheer size and unconventional Buddhist practices, this temple is often regarded as unique, even a little strange. Something even more unusual has been happening at Wat Damagai recently. The monks and followers are defying Thailand's military government and getting away with it. It's the biggest display of resistance since the military coup almost 3 years ago.
The temple itself was built by the donations of general public, little by little, from nothing, from the paddy field up until this fall. So people feel the sense of belonging that this is my temple. And now, when they order to vacate me out of my temple, the devotees don't feel comfortable with that.
Police and soldiers have sealed off the 3.5 square kilometre property as they search for the temple's former abbot, who is now a fugitive. The monks here say they don't know where he is, but he's too unwell to report to the police. So far, significant police force hasn't been used, but people aren't allowed into the temple. If any of the 10,000 people inside want to leave, they can't return. There are many groups in Thailand watching this situation very closely to see how the military government deals with it. At the moment, it's still something of a standoff between the security forces and the temple's followers, but it could become a lot more than that. There's a political undercurrent to this story, and some believe the government wants to destroy the temple because it's become too popular and powerful. Many of the sect's followers are also supporters of the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, who was removed in a coup just over 10 years ago. To try to control the temple siege, the government has invoked what's known as Article 44, which is similar to martial law. It gives the Prime Minister absolute power and allows security forces to seize assets and detain suspects without charge. Some experts believe that the longer the confrontation at the temple drags on, the greater the chance that it could inspire others, such as anti-government groups.
Even you're using Article 44 to resolve this issue, but it seems that it's not working. And if it's not working in one case, these kind of model of not giving in to the Article 44 might be used by other groups in order to kind of push their political agendas further.
The monks at the temple say they don't have a political agenda. They're simply trying to protect their right to religious freedom. Wayne Hay, Al Jazeera, Pathum Thani, Thailand.
Up next in sports, St. Kitts Nevis Olympic Committee names award after late sports official and Argentine football players go on strike over unpaid wages. Welcome back to the news. We now look at the sports where the St. Kitts Nevis Olympic Committee has formed an award for volunteerism in honor of the late Stedroy Tish Shishira. President of the SKNOC, Alfonso Bridgewater, made the announcement during a recent sit-down with ZIZ this week.
To illustrate its appreciation for the stewardship, service and volunteerism of Stedroy Tish Shishira, the St. Kitts Nevis Olympic Committee recommends and expresses its willingness to pioneer the establishment of the Stedroy Tish Shishira Volunteer Award.
Bridgewater went on to list requirements for the annual award.
The award will be annual. 2, the award will be given to individuals or groups. 3, recipients must demonstrate exemplary acts, contributions of stewardship, service and volunteerism through a combination of sport and one or more of the following: education, culture, religion and institution. And 4, specific attention will be paid to unsung heroes and heroines.
He then gave his condolences to the family and friends of the late sports official.
In the name of the St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee, I extend sincerest condolences on the passing of Tish to the family, friends, and various fraternities who would undoubtedly miss his passion for service and reliable stewardship, his consistent and exemplary display of humility and simplicity, along with his unquenchable appetite for volunteerism.
Stedroy Teixeira's body was found in his house on Wednesday, 16th of February. Teixeira was a coach and physical education teacher at the Washington Archibald High School for almost 32 years. Buenos Aires, Argentina, the first division football players in Argentina are on strike over unpaid wages and have refused to take part in this weekend's matches. Some players have complained they have not been paid for over 4 months. We hear more in that story.
The dispute has been brewing for some time. Players say they've not been paid for up to 5 months. But the crisis goes deeper than a dispute over unpaid wages in a country where football is a passion that transcends politics and economics.
They pressured us, saying they'll deduct points or that they'll field youth teams, but we don't have any solid economic proposals, so we'll keep going until they deposit the money the players are asking for. Nothing's changed.
The government no longer funds the broadcast of live football, paying $22 million to the clubs to end its involvement.
I believe we'll solve part of the problem with this money, but if we don't play football, it'll be worse.
But 3 prospective replacement broadcasters, Fox, ESPN and Media Pro, are still negotiating to fill that vital income-generating gap left by the government. Many are asking how it's come to this. Others are saying that it was inevitable, that Argentine football is rotten to the core, and it was only a matter of time before the poison manifested itself in a bitter conflict between vested interests. And the losers in all this? As always, the fans.
Those who run football and our politicians should realize that football is the national sport in Argentina. Football should be available to everyone.
As a fan, I think it's perfect because we've got to show solidarity with the players, whatever division they play in.
Football's world governing body FIFA is meanwhile threatening to suspend Argentina from international competition unless its national association AFA adopts their criteria for choosing a new boss. AFA has been without a permanent president since the death of long-serving strongman Julio Grondona in July 2014.
Argentine people cannot afford to not have football. They are not used to this situation. They need football. We need football. We are a football nation. The government knows this, but hasn't done anything to prevent this situation.
The violence, corruption and poor management that have blighted the game for so long continue unabated. The only certainty in Argentina's uncertain football world is that no ball will be kicked in earnest this weekend, or until a complex situation is unravelled. Daniel Schweimler, Al Jazeera, Buenos Aires.
And when we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines.
Can you afford to lose everything? In times of uncertainty, ensure you have the security of Quartz Payment Protection. When you shop with Quartz Ready Finance Gold or Ultimate Plan, if you lose your job after 6 months of making payments, our redundancy coverage ensures that the payment on your account continues for up to 12 months. Don't risk losing everything. Shop with Quartz Ready Finance and get the payment protection plan that protects you against redundancy, disability, death, and loss of item due to natural disaster, fire, flood, or theft. Quartz Ready Finance with payment protection. Quartz, bringing value home.
And now to recap the top stories, OECS heads are pressed for deeper levels of integration, particularly in the area of safety and security. Prominent Judge Justice Saunders to deliver good governance and accountability lecture. And ZIZ Radio celebrates its 56th anniversary. And that's the end of the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. Thank you for joining us. I am Veer Galloway.